Here we go. First game of potentially 5 between the Pomelos and the Legio Lepidoptera Leviathan. First off, for the Pomelos, we have the Schrichter. Red Shrike, dual Gatlings and Watches. Their ally is the SS Speedy Enchilada, Corsair with front heavy carronade and once again 2 Gatlings and 2 Watches. Their opponents, Legio Lepidoptera Leviathan, bringing the Bamboozle Moth. It looks like Nemesis on the front of this Judgment Gatling Mortar paired with a right side Hwacha. And finally, their ally, the GFA Barrel Eye, heavy carronade Corsair with 2 Gatlings and 2 Hwachas. So a lot of heavy weapons being brought here on Peryton Rumble. And also double, this might be the first time in a competitive match that we have seen 2 Corsairs facing off. The Corsair being the newest ship added to the game, ported over from the Alliance side, the PvE content. And I think, really we've only been seeing Mighty Keb flying this ship since in the 2 or so months since its introduction. And for that reason, I feel like the strength of the ship, it has some qualities that one would think it would be very powerful just looking at the stats, but I feel like the ship really hasn't been put through its paces just yet. Most teams opting to bring Judgment instead just for the forward-facing firepower. And now, oh no, Speedy Enchilada at a real bad spot, charging in ahead of their ally. Shrike just not in a position to help them out. And then I think they had intended just to do a little damage, try to get a balloon pop with a front heavy carronade, then disengage, but they actually dropped into some terrain and ended up taking fatal damage. Not a little bit of a surprise early death. And now Schrichter, for some reason, is continuing this engagement. I think they're probably should have left at the first sign of trouble, coming in a little bit too late. And that's 2 points on the board already for Legio Lepidoptera. Now, looking at the team composition, so I talked a bit about Corsair hasn't seen a whole lot of play just yet. So, people still trying to figure out where it fits into a team composition. And the most standard combination of ship types that we usually do see in SCS is what the red team is bringing. And I'll switch over to their side, which is usually the pairing of a very fast ship, a mobile ship, and a slower ship. The fast ship is able to get into the enemy's blind spots, disrupt their formation, just be distracting. Well, a heavy ship can unload a higher level of firepower. So as long as, let's say, theoretically, in this situation, the Shrike gets behind the ally, gets behind the opponents, blue team then has to turn, deal with them, and then the heavy ship, the heavy weapon ship, which in this case would be the Speedy Enchilada, the Corsair, can just unload all their guns. Now, you know, I feel like whatever the Corsair is doing, I think I'll talk a little bit also about what the Corsair is trying to do that's not working out. But the reason I talk about the team compositions in that way is that the Corsair is a strange ship, and that it's very large and tanky and has a lot of heavy weapons, but it also has very good movement vectors. So it's unclear where it fits exactly. It's kind of in a halfway point between the faster attack style ship and a slower support heavy weapons ship. Now to talk a little bit about the Speedy Enchilada's play here, I believe that is Hellfire piloting that Corsair. The Corsair, one of the strengths of the ship is that it's seen as being very good at getting ram kills. It has zoom in here, it has a very tall profile that has a lot of hull, and it's also very tanky. It has a lot of defensive armor and health values. So the combination of the high mass, good ramming profile, very tanky, as well as some good close range mobility, makes it very good at ramming. So I think the pilot of the Speedy Enchilada is just trying to cheese out some kills by charging directly into an enemy ship, but it's simply not working. They're not able to do enough damage, And the Bamboozlemoth with the Gatling Watch of the Barrel Eye has just been eviscerating them. And it's also these very fast surprise-style charges from the Speedy Enchilada, Speedy Enchilada, making it difficult for the Stricter actually to keep up, for them to be able to coordinate and attack as a team. You see here in this situation, Stricter engaged once again very early, and Speedy Enchilada only now getting their broadside into arc. Armor is already down. They build it very quickly, but they've lost their balloon as well, and they're forced to duck behind cover. Now, Stricter is doing a good job keeping the Judgment distracted, but there's a Watch Barrage. They lose their right side, lose their armor, and they're once again done. Red team just disconcerted, disconcorded. What's the word? I don't know what the word I'm thinking of. Non-synchronized play that we're seeing from Red team. Blue is the Legio Lepidoptera is just able to destroy them with their sheer firepower, because Red is only, the way they're playing, they're only really exposing one ship at a time. So if the Barrel Eye and the Bamboozlemoth are able to dual focus, the sheer amount of firepower they have at their disposal, it just destroys the enemies. And I think, yeah, Enchilada getting devoured at the end there, that was a hearty Spanish-inspired cuisine for Legio Lepidoptera, a 5-0 victory. And we'll see what the Pomelos decide to bring next game, which is going to be on Derelict Deception. Here we go into our second game on Derelict Deception. First off, for Red Team, the Pomelos, we have Poodlemoth, Watch Goldfish with left side light carronade, right side Gatling. Their ally, the GFA Barrel Eye, once again bringing the Corsair to the front. I think this is a heavy carronade now, with dual Gatlings and dual Watches. For their opponents, the Pomelos, we have the Schrichter as a pause being called from the Pomelos. Dual Gats paired with dual Watches, and their ally, the Anna, another Shrike, 2 more Gats, 2 more Watches. And taking a look, seems we don't have any. Apparently one player on the ship is having a game client issue. But this is interesting what we're seeing here. The dual Shrike combination is once again, you know, I spent about 25 minutes in the previous game talking about team compositions while stuff was going on, but now that we're paused, the dual Shrikes, not something we see a whole lot. Once again, a situation where I feel like the Glowwater Thralls, as much as I like to talk about the Glowwater Thralls, one of the more Kirwanai, one of the more prominent Shrike pilots, a ship that we haven't seen a whole lot of. It's definitely coming to more prominence since the Stormbreaker has been banned, being outgunned by the latter ship. So I'm curious to see how this goes. In bringing a dual Shrike composition, they do give up a little bit of firepower that they would have with something like a Judgment. But this would theoretically, if they have good pilot coordination, the sheer speed of the Shrike, its close range mobility, gives them a lot of options, a lot of opportunities to shape the battle in the way that they want, approach from different angles, like, you know, the typical 2-pronged attack is having again, I talked about this last game, having the fast ship come in behind the enemy or come in from below, hydrogen up, and then once the opponents are distracted, heavy support ship gets their guns at the target at long range. But having 2 fast ships gives them a little bit more in terms of angles that they can attack from, as we do have ships unpausing, teams unpausing, I believe, yes. Currently both teams opting to move towards the north end of the map. The side has a little bit more hard cover, as well as these clouds near the flight ceiling. So Schrichter moving in low. First spot going down for Legio Lepidoptera, taking a Watcher Barrage. Anna a little bit in the back. Last game we did see the Pomelos having a lot of coordination issues, so I will be curious to see how they handle this dual strike composition, which would, I think, theoretically, I think would require a lot of coordination to pull something like this off, especially versus a Corsair, which has fast close range mobility itself. Versus a Judgment, this could work a little bit better, but the Corsair is going to be a lot more difficult to deal with, as we now see Schrichter moving in, Watcher Barrage coming out, disabling the Corsair, Poodlemoth targeting the Schrichter as Anna moves in from below, probably going to pop some hydrogen, and I think target going to be the Goldfish for the Anna, while the Schrichter stays on the GFA Barrel Eye. Armor break going down on the red Corsair, but the Hwacha is spent. Schrichter slowly turning, instead choosing to disengage instead, respecting the Poodlemoth's Hwacha. So only a little bit of permanent damage on the red Corsair. Poodlemoth going for a bump. Both the Barrel Eye and the Schrichter have damaged balloons, so vertical mobility going to be lessened for those two ships as Anna and the Schrichter switch targets. I think blue team trying to find a way to get away from the Poodlemoth so that they can dual focus the Corsair. But Poodlemoth is just not letting it happen as the Barrel Eye gets a great Hwacha connection on Anna. Schrichter, I'm at an application crash for a moment, as now Poodlemoth pushing the Schrichter away. And an eerie silence. The Schrichter ducks down. Uh-oh. Okay, well, Schrichter is dead here, so we'll rip. A little bit unfortunate positioning by Sunstrom there. And now Anna has an armor break, but Hwacha not quite ready to fire. And at this point, Anna probably wants to disengage. This is another situation. They're going to let loose this one last Hwacha barrage. Actually doing a good amount of damage, 20% there. But I don't think it's going to be worth the damage they're going to take in return, as the Poodlemoth gets a Hwacha connection. Let's see, Anna still has all their engines, but they're trying to escape. Barrel Eye blocks them. They're being pushed up. They're still trying to run. They need to get out of here. Schrichter takes a close spawn. And now Anna's turning back to re-engage. That's one thing to note about this side of the map, is that the spawns here are very close to the center, so if that's where the fight is taking place, you get very fast respawns. And now Poodlemoth losing their armor, Schrichter switching side for the left Hwacha, not quite able to get it in time. A fast armor rebuild on the Poodlemoth. Armor goes down again. Right side Hwacha does connect. Big damage to the Goldfish. Barrel Eye trying to keep the Schrichter at bay. They've disabled all the Schrichter's engines, so Blue Shrike going to be rising up instead, using their verticality to make sure Barrel Eye is unable to follow up. And both the blue ships taking cover from the onslaught of the strikes, the Hwachas. They're both pretty heavily damaged, as well as the Anna at half health. So here we go, Poodlemoth a little bit low. We can see a dual focus from the Pomelos. Barrel Eye trying to keep their armor up. Two engines are down, but Poodlemoth here, which target are they going to pick to save their ally? Hwacha hitting the Schrichter. Schrichter, all guns are down. Two engines down as well. They could die here as well. Poodlemoth going in for a ram. Schrichter moonshining forward, barely able to dodge that, but Barrel Eye gets a Hwacha at medium range as the Anna moves in to try to contest them. Oh, Poodlemoth. Poodlemoth wants this kill as well. This is a bad situation for the Schrichter. So Anna forced to disengage from the Corsair, go for the Poodlemoth. Poodlemoth damage, armor is down. Anna able to pick up the kill, but Schrichter low as well. And the long-range Hwacha, most of it connecting, but they're able to rebuild the armor before they lose that last tick of health. So both strikes still alive. Schrichter, very, very low health. Next armor loss will probably finish them off. They're within Gatling kill range, the strike is. But as long as they can keep this Corsair disabled, they can get a second point and they can take the lead. But they have to do it quick, because Poodlemoth, again, these close center map spawns. Schrichter moving in. Is he going for... Okay, no. I thought he's going for a ram for a second. But they do get the kill on the Corsair. Poodlemoth now a 2v1 situation here. I'm probably hoping that they would have been able to save their ally, and now unable to do so. They're in a bad situation, so they're rising up using a little bit of hydrogen, I believe. And I think they're probably going to be able to survive long enough. I don't know, we'll see. Yes, this is red spawn, so... But they... Oh, no. Well, they're done. I was going to say there's a chance that they were going to survive because they're on Red's their own teams. They're at the home side of the map. However, they just a few more... If the spawn had come just a few seconds earlier, I think they would have been able to make it out of that. Now, of course, they're probably going to be able to tank a little bit longer than the goldfish. And this time, instead of going to the flight ceiling, they're dropping down, forcing the Shrikes to follow them to the bottom of the map, which is going to buy them a couple more seconds. You see these sharks descending on their target, and oh, look at that! Look at that bait! Look at the vertical mobility of the Corsair being used to great effect. They popped the hydrogen for 1 second, and suddenly the Shrikes just unable to keep up. That is one of the best stats that the Corsair has, is a very high vertical mobility, which you would think, because it's kind of a big chunky ship, you'd think it wouldn't have that much fast rising capability. However, we do see it being used there, so now we get an even fight, and both the Shrikes are heavily damaged. So if we can get some armor breaks, Stricter we're going to have to play very carefully. You see, it's going to be, there are very few... Oh no, what is Anna doing? Anna running into Corsair, that's another 25% health. Stricter, because they have to play so conservatively, there are very few movements that they're able to really commit to, so pretty much when they unload the Watcher, they immediately have to pop the Moonshine to start moving around. And they're doing this little dance. It's Feral Eyes catching them in the rear. Armor at half. That armor on the Shrike goes down. They are going to die, so they have to keep it up. But armor on the Pomelos does go down first, taken down by the Watcher, so not going to be any follow-up damage. And Anna just not doing enough. Well, okay, I was saying not doing enough, but they finally do get that Watcher connection on the Barrel Eye. So Corsair slightly disabled. They're buying a little bit of breathing room for their ally, the Stricter. And we'll see where they decide to go. Stricter still doesn't have any guns up. I think they're probably pre-built. There we go. Watcher connection on an unarmored Poodle Moth. Big hits. Almost all of the Red Goldfish's health is gone. But Anna's taking big damage at the floor of the map. There are 3 ships here that are all very close to dying. Anna popping the hydrogen, just try to stay alive. Stricter taking the Watcher for their ally. Losing 2 engines in the process. Gatling hitting the Corsair. Poodle Moth still trying to rebuild their components. Main engine is down. So the Goldfish needs to kick it into gear here. Deal with these Shrikes as the Shrikes rise up to the height ceiling. I think everybody here is taking a moment to try to repair before the next wave of Watches come in. And you see Anna losing all their components, using the chute vent. I'm actually going to check the opponents here. Okay, we see the gunner on the Shrike. It actually has chute vent piloting tool, which we saw them utilize just there. Stricter very low frame rate, tanking. Muse, please. I think that might be it for the Stricter. It is. And now Anna probably going to want to disengage. They could go... If they're able to identify that the Goldfish is... how damaged the Goldfish is, I could see them maybe trying to get that kill, but instead they're disengaging. It looks like they're running through the rest of the ship, clipping through that non-collision terrain. And unfortunately, I can't lock the camera to the ship because of a long-standing spectator bug, so we'll do a nice panning camera shot here. And Stricter takes the far spawn as well. So I'm going to zoom in here really quickly and take a look. You see at the bottom deck of the Shrike. Hopefully they don't die here. But you see the main guns are right next to the piloting wheel. So what we sometimes see is the main gunner bringing an effective 4th piloting tool. And so if they need that shoot vent or tar barrel or whatever, a tool that gets used maybe a little less often than the Phoenix Claw or the kerosene, the pilot will actually hop off the wheel, the gunner jumps on, pops the shoot vent, and then they switch back, because the effect of those tools lasts for multiple seconds after they're used. So gunner only needs to be on the helm for a moment to actually engage that shoot vent. I believe Alien Dragonfly does that as well. As Pomelos pushing forward into Blue's spawn. I'm not sure if they want to be taking the forward position here, given their state of low health. They're spotted. Anna's up here and waiting to drop down. And this is going to be a fast dual focus. Corsair is so far back. I don't know what they're... okay. You know what? I guess they're probably just resetting their ship is what they're doing. I should give them a little bit of credit. Realizing that the low health goldfish will be a liability in the coming engagement, they're instead opting to just reset it here, which is a little bit. I mean, it certainly makes sense. Shrikes, the Gatling Watcher Shrike, very adept at picking off low health targets, simply because the Gatling very good against armor, and you only need a couple of those watches. Their kill power is a little bit lower than something like a Judgment, but the Watcha will be able to finish off a low health target if only, if you've gotten a ship to a state where you only need like 2 or 3 of the Watcha rockets to connect. It's very easy to pick up those kills. So despite the fact that this does put the Pomelos on match point, resetting that goldfish there, Lepidoptera feels that it's better for them just to go into the next fight with 2 full health ships, which I definitely agree with. I think that makes a lot of sense. But it does mean that they have to... Next fight, they're going to have to win without trading either of their 2 ships. They're going to have to get 2 kills. And that's a... Well, we'll see how it goes. It's a tough ask. As Schrichter, moving in north, already spotted, gone a little scouting mission, as both the red ships very low below the clouds. The top center map. So they get spotted. They can't see Lepidoptera, so Shrike's going to back out. They get visibility underneath the clouds, spot the Pomelos. So Lepidoptera's position is known to the Pomelos. I think Pomelos may be deciding how they want to utilize their 2 Shrikes. I'm almost surprised that Blue Team did not reset their own Shrike, because Anna's at pretty low health as well. And both the Shrikes just moving in very high altitude position. Where is okay, Pomelos down there. All ships are spotted. Anna's backing out. Schrichter moving in. Barrel Eye in position to hydrogen up and hit one of these 2 Shrikes. But again, it's not going to be a surprise because all the whole 4 ships are spotted. So we'll see when the Barrel Eye decides to pop this Hydro. It's kind of a weird situation because you look at the map, the ships are all very close together, but they're separated by such extreme verticality that they can't actually do any, because they're all Hwacha-based ships, and the Hwacha does not really shoot up very well, so none of the ships actually want to engage into the enemy's Hwacha. However, it does look like Red Team could be forced to make the first move here because Pomelos do have the point advantage, so they can't just sit here and wait out the timer. So here comes Pomelos, Barrel Eye, maybe going a little bit light on the hydrogen, taking a couple extra seconds to rise up. Anna running away, Pomelos, Barrel Eye chasing. The Blue Strikes have split up, and I think Lepidoptera a little bit indecisive who they want to go for. Anna now reversing back into the team. What are they doing? Just skate off the top of the Barrel Eye. I think they wanted to go over the. I think they wanted to go over the Corsair, or just a little too low. And now the Schrichter left on their own. And these comebacks are really tough in a world where every ship has Hwacha and every ship can get a full disable with one volley of a heavy weapon. These 1v2 fights are much more difficult to take than they once were. So Schrichter going to be forced to back out. Like a Lepidoptera, I mean, there you go. They got a kill, and they took only a very little amount of damage in the process. So still totally winnable for Red Team. And I feel like it's maybe the idea I have in my head is that maybe Blue Team realized that the Anna was so heavily damaged that they decided to reset it in the middle of the fight, but I don't think that's actually what happened. I think they just messed up their piloting maneuver there. And Anna, there's already all the guns are down, so Schrichter are gonna have to help out. Barrel Eye rising up. Red Team wants to dual focus on this Shrike. They want that 4th point. Here we go, another Hwacha connection. Anna being keep suppressed. Schrichter goes for the Poodle Moth. Anna's almost dead already. Second Hwacha connection taking 95% of their health, as well as all their components. Barrel Eye gonna stay on the Schrichter while Poodle Moth descends down for the Anna. And Anna's trying to stay low. Schrichter trying to drop down as well, but they hit the terrain, bouncing back up. Schrichter wants to help their ally with the goldfish. And there we go. They get a good Hwacha dual focus for Blue Team. Schrichter was able to drop down low enough to get those 2 Hwacha connections, and that means Pomelos taking this game, tying up the set. And next game that we're going to be setting up here, going to be Ashen Scuffle. Here we go into the actual 3rd game of this best of 5 set, which is on Ashen Scuffle. First off, for the Pomelos, we have a Schrichter, dual Gatlings, dual Hwachas for the Red Shrike. Their ally is the Gun Soul Judgment with Center Lumberjack, Gatling Artemis, and Hwacha. For their opponents, like Lepidoptera, Leviathan, on blue, we have the Confused Moth, Stormbreaker. Hey, hello, hello, old friend. Mark II Heavy Flak paired with dual Seraph and a Gatling gun. And finally, the GFA Barrel Eye, Lumberjack Center, dual Gatlings, and dual Hwachas for the Corsair. So here we see both teams opting to go back to the tried and true hybrid team compositions. But what's not tried and true is this Stormbreaker loadout. So Stormbreaker, if you don't know, a few months ago was actually banned from competitive play. Specifically, Stormbreaker utilizing a Hwacha in the heavy weapon slot was banned from play just due to being too strong. It's a fast ship, small profile, difficult to hit, and it's 4 guns on one side. So it's basically a squid with a Spire's firepower, and as such, we saw it necessary to ban it from competitive play. However, Stormbreaker loadouts that don't use a Hwacha are legal to use. So here we see more of a kill-based setup, Gatling, heavy flak. The 2 Seraph Tempest missiles are interesting here. I would have maybe opted to bring a little bit more piercing because they don't have... The ship has no long-range piercing. It only has this Gatling, which at most is going to be able to operate at medium range. They looks like charged ammo being used for that Gatling gun. Seems like a questionable loadout, and the Seraph Tempest missiles is not a good close-range weapon, so once they're in Gatling range, it's going to be very difficult to actually hit with that gun. But we'll see how they do. Lumberjack shots coming in from the Gun Soul. Confused Moth already taking balloon damage. Barrel Eye was moving through the cave. I was too busy talking about Stormbreaker to notice that Legio Lepidoptera is actually going for a big flank play with GFA barrel roll, moving in, ignoring the Schrichter. I think they want the dual focus on Gun Soul. Like to see some Lumberjack shots from the Barrel Eye. The first one does miss. Gun Soul ducking down. I think they're ducking down to keep the Confused Moth in arc, but in doing so, actually dodging all the Lumberjack fire from the Barrel Eye. And you see a Hwacha connection. Excuse me. Hwacha connection as well, hitting the Barrel Eye. Schrichter moving in. as Confused Moth switches target, forcing the Stricter to disengage. Confused Moth very heavily damaged. Balloon is down. They just rebuilt their armor. Gunsoul going to be able to pick them off. The Artemis, I think so, yeah, this is tough. Looks like they're going to be able to find some cover here as their ally, the Barrel Eye, moves in, gets a good armor break on the Red Judgment. What are these? These are... I think those are some Tempest missiles that were connecting from Confused Moth. But Stricter big unarmored, watch a connection on the Barrel Eye. Confused Moth has the rear of the Stricter as well. Ooh, what was that? Was some like heavy flak shot or something. Half of Stricter's health is down, but all of Barrel Eye's health is gone as well. And that's first point on the board for the Pomelos. Confused Moth going to have to disengage, but they're taking Lumberjack, and I think that's going to be it. One Artemis shot, able to finish them off. And now 2 points on the board for the Pomelos. You know, I didn't actually see any Seraphs, any of the missiles. If you don't know, the Seraph Tempest missile is kind of a... It's not quite heat seek. It's a remote-controlled missile cluster. So you shoot it out, it splits into a kind of a wave, a bunch of missiles, and then you hold down left-click, and the missiles will follow where you're pointing. So it's a weapon that's very easy to hit with. So you basically just hold left-click on the enemy ship, and the missiles will eventually fly around and hit them. But I didn't actually see... I feel like the Stricter took some Tempest shots there at the end, but I didn't see them being rendered on my screen. So I'm curious, maybe they're another spectator bug. But we'll see what the Pomelos decide to do. Stricter's moving far to the north, switching over to their camera. They're trying to get some early spots, but unfortunately for them, Lucky Lepidoptera spawned on the opposite side of their spawn and are already rotating clockwise around the map. So no early spots for either team. Stricter, due to that, opting to reverse back out, stick with their ally, now that they don't know where Lucky Lepidoptera's position is. Very defensive position that red team is setting up. A lot of respect that they're showing to their opponents. I'll very loudly move my microphone. There's a spot going down underneath the cloud on the Gunsoul. Confused Moth moving forward. Now that the Judgment is spotted, I suspect we'll see Stricter rejoining their ally. And there's Lumberjack shots from the Barrel Eye. Yeah, those are definitely Tempest shots. Those like cluster hit markers, but they're very faint. Yeah, you can see the trails a little bit. They're very faint on the screen. There's now Confused Moth trying to get past the Victor. Takes a Watcha connection, but it's on the non-gun side, so they only lose one engine. The Lucky Lepidoptera wanted to dual focus on the Gunsoul, but I don't think they're going to be able to get it. And oh no, Stricter just... That's a big NO from the Shrike. I think the loadout, the Confused Moth's loadout, just does not do enough damage fast enough. It doesn't have an immediate impact on the match, especially if they're not in Gatling range. The ship basically does nothing. So Stricter is able to safely just watch their opponent. But now they fly down to engage the Barrel Eye, maybe a little ill-advised. They're taking a lot of damage, and they do go down. So Lucky Lepidoptera does get a point, and Gunsoul, they are in enemy spawn, so this is a good dual focus. 1 point, that small mistake that was made by the Shrike, potentially going to turn into 2 points for their opponents. Gatling from the Confused Moth, hitting the Gunsoul, watch it from the Barrel Eye. Armor on the Judgment, getting low. Mallet hit, keeping it up for now, but it's currently burning, and they're moonshining away as the armor goes down. Heavy flak shot does connect, but we don't have a second one, and no Tempest as well. You would think that would be the Well, let's go. Heavy flak shot does connect, finishes them off this time. Just as the Stricter moves in and probably going to disengage. Unless they want to try to go for a fast kill. They bump the Confused Moth, but take out their own armor in the process. I think this is a little bit ambitious, what Stricter is trying to do here. And for their troubles, another heavy flak connection. Oh, look at it! Look at the heavy flak chasing the Shrike. It does hit rebuilt armor, though, so they aren't able to get the kill. But Shrike already losing 80% of their health trying to go for that play. Definitely not worth it. Losing their armor again. So hopefully none of those Seraphs hit them while the armor is down. But I think they are... Looks like they are going to be able to disengage. They're having a little bit of difficulty staying repaired, though, because of the fires from the Tempest. Lumberjack takes down the armor. The Tempest's all kind of missing. And finally, Stricter has managed to disengage. I think it's ridiculous that the Shrike almost can move faster than a heavy flak shot. That's pretty funny. Now here we go. Stricter has the rear of the barrel eye. Taking a look here. Judgment does have that rear javelin, which they aren't using. But I don't think they're going to need it. Gatling watch aside, able to finish off the damaged Shrike. And now score suddenly tied up. Gunsoul left to fight both the blue ships. They are on red side of the map, so if they can tank through this without taking too much damage, they could turn this back into an even fight. But that's a big Quacha connection. Balloon looks like going to go down to the fires. No, they're able to get an extinguish, so Balloon on Gunsoul does stay up. Confused Moth getting into position behind the Gunsoul. And as soon as that Gatling starts hitting, the Gunsoul's not going to be long for this world. Stricter spawns in. But if they have to get going pretty quickly here, Lepidoptera have maybe waited a little bit too long to hit this Judgment. As now we see Stricter, barrel eye, first shot going, looks like Stricter gets the better of the Quacha disables. But they also have, if you look at the Stricter on the left side of the screen, Judgment, heavy flak, well, that's the Era's special, is I'm about to say, I'm in the middle of saying something and then the ship just dies to a heavy flak. But if you look at the Stricter's components on the left side of the screen, look at all those fires. Those are from the Seraph the Tempest Seraph, whatever the hell that gun is called that nobody uses. That gun sets a lot of fires. And if we switch over to their camera here, we do see Incendiary on the front Tempest, and it looks like the rear Tempest using burst. So that means a lot of fire procs, and that's going to be very annoying to deal with, especially on a ship like a Shrike, which is constantly going to be burning moonshine. It's already kind of a little bit difficult to keep repairs up on a ship that you pretty much have to keep those the failsafe kit procs up. When you start suddenly having to mix in constant fire extinguish, it can be difficult to keep the failsafe up on all those engines, which is just so important on a ship that relies on its close range mobility. Now both blue ships, Lepidoptera, taking cover. I want to say the first point, if I could try to, let's see if I can maybe, yeah, looking at the chat, first kill did go to the Pomelos, so if Pomelos are able to tie up the score, and if the timer does run out during that tied score period, the Pomelos would win. However, Lepidoptera are taking a very protected position here. This is about the southmost part of the map, this little arch here. And it's going to be pretty difficult for Red to attack from. Keeping this position means that the Gunsoul, the Judgment, is not going to be able to utilize its long-range fire, assuming they stay behind the terrain, blue team does. I'm actually gonna check some of these things real quick. We turned the game sound down slightly. I feel like maybe it was too loud. And you see that Pomelos do not want to commit to this because the barrel eye, the broadside-based nature of Legio Lepidoptera's 2 ships can better utilize this sort of play where they straightforward poke out and then move back behind terrain. Judgment, that's one of typically considered the Judgment's strengths is that it has all forward-facing weapons, but in this situation, there are specific scenarios where an opposing team is utilizing very tall terrain that could make it difficult for Judgment to actually engage on their target. When pretty much any time they have to fly around something, they're ceding an advantage to a broadside style ship, which is kind of what the Corsair is, although it does have that one forward-facing weapon that it can utilize. But it seemed like this, but at the same time, this sort of poke style of play does not work well for Legio Lepidoptera's loadout. Specifically for the Confused Moth, because once again, we look at these guns, none of these guns actually do really any damage. You have the Gatling can't be used at this range, and the rest of their weapons are just explosive. They're not even disable explosive, they're just pure kill weapons. So, unless they're able to actually get an armor break, which, without any long-range piercing, they can't do, they're not able to actually do any damage. So they're just kind of maintaining the stalemate. They're not going to be able to get a kill in this sort of a let's say medium-long range fight. They're just being annoying enough to prevent the Pomelos from charging in, trying to keep them at bay. And only 5 minutes left on the clock. Armor break on the Gunsoul from the Lumberjack. And we do get a little bit of some Tempest connections as well. So Gunsoul losing actually about 40% permahull, 50% maybe. Getting a little bit too close to the barrelized Gatling. Once again, look at those fires on the Gunsoul. I bet that must be super annoying to deal with. They do lose their balloon to the barrel eye's Lumberjack. Now Schrichter's moving in. They've gotten tired of not being able to utilize their close-range guns, so here they go. First target is the barrel eye. Now they're moving forward for the Confused Moth, knowing that the Confused Moth's not going to be able to do too much damage, and oh god, the frame rate. Confused Moth trying to dodge the Schrichter. They need to stay out of that Hwacha range, so they're rising up, staying above the vertical arcs, as Gunsoul takes a hit from the barrel eye. Dual focus on the Schrichter. No, barrel eye still reloading. I think those are heavy flak shots, but unarmed, so it doesn't do too much damage. Gunsoul Lumberjack going for the Confused Moth. Confused Moth still just trying to dodge the Hwacha, but unsuccessfully as they take a huge connection, taking down all their components as well as the armor. Barrel eye reversing back. It looks like they want to get Lumberjack on the Schrichter. But they've lost their balloon to the Gunsoul's Lumberjack, so they're going to drop down. Gatling from the Schrichter as well. Schrichter's balloon is half. Tempest shots hitting the Red Shrike. Armor, 16 stacks of fire on the Schrichter. Balloon is down. Armor going to go down right about now. We'll see if any explosive connects. There's Tempest shots picking them away. You can see how little damage the Tempest actually does. That was a full unarmored connection and only took about 20% permahull. Maybe even a little bit less, but the next shot able to finish them off, and that means Legio Lepidoptera taking the lead again in this set 2-1 against the Pomelos. And despite the fact maybe questionable build from the Stormbreaker did ultimately work out in their favor. And the next game is going to be on Northern Fjords. And going into this fourth and potentially last game of our best of 5 set, as Barrel Eye charges Looks like we have all the teams rushing directly to center map. First fight taking place above the archway. Lumberjack shots able to take down the Victor Stromstrom's balloon. And Bamboozle Moth moving in with the Gatling, taking down the armor. Hwacha connects. Looks like a lot of that going to the balloon, so not too much health damage. An opposing Hwacha from the Victor Stromstrom looks like takes down the Lumberjack of the Bamboozle Moth. While the Anna and Barrel Eye are fighting at the top of the map. Armor break on the Barrel Eye here. We'll see Anna trying to switch sides, moving forward to maintain that angle. Balloon on the Barrel Eye very low as well, and their engines are down, so they're not going to be able to dodge this incoming Hwacha connection, which is doing a huge amount of damage. 80% permanent health on the Barrel Eye is gone. Next armor break from the Anna could take them down. Corsair desperately trying to rebuild their engines so that they can get their own Hwacha into arc, but the Anna's doing a good job keeping their components suppressed. Is the Gatling about to finish off their armor? There it goes, Hwacha connection able to get the kill. And that's first point on the board for the Pomelos as the Bamboozle Moss and the Victor Stromstrom Lumberjack duel on Blue's side of the map. Anna going to be rejoining them in just a moment, and once this Hwacha connects and starts taking down components, probably going to be it for the Bamboozle Moth. I don't see a situation. Again, the Hwacha metagame has kind of created a situation where 1v2s are almost impossible. In a game where every ship has a component capable of disabling all of your weapons, all of your components. You mess up once, you lose all your engines, your chance for escape is erased. So that's a pretty quick 2 points. And let's see. Let's take a look at these loadouts. Despite the fact that I can't use the ship camera, you're taking a look at the Victor Stromstrom here, the Judgment. I'm sure this is a great viewing experience for everyone. You know what? We'll do it from here. We have a Lumberjack on the center of this Judgment. On the lower deck, oh god, Mercury the Artemis paired with the Hwacha on the right side. And their ally is the Anna, bringing that typical dual Gatling Hwacha. Quickly switching over to red. For the Bamboozle Moth, we have a Lumberjack, Gatling Banshee Hwacha paired with the Lumberjack, dual Gatling, dual Hwacha that we've seen in the previous games. And now teams currently fighting the south wall of the map. Victor Stromstrom lending some long-range support fire through the clouds as the Anna distracts at close range and taking big Hwacha connection, losing all of their guns, being forced to disengage momentarily. Now, Victor Stromstrom does have... I'm going to take a look because I already forgot all the guns these Judgments are bringing. Victor Stromstrom bringing more long-range firepower here. They do have the Mercury Artemis on the lower deck, while the Bamboozle Moth is opting to bring the Gatling Banshee, so Victor Stromstrom kitted out a little more. They both have Lumberjack Hwacha, but the light weapons on the Stromstrom kitted more long-range, while the Bamboozle Moth opting for close range. But here we have dual focus from the Pomelos, so the Anna able to help their ally out, get that kill. Third point on the board. Barrel Eye stuck here at the Arched Mountain. This is a spawn point for red, but I don't know how long they're going to be able to survive. You saw how quickly the Pomelos were able to eviscerate the red Judgment. So we'll see how long the Corsair can last. They're rising up, trying to stay above the gun arcs. Thankfully, some of those Lumberjack shots missing, but there goes the armor to the Anna's Gatling. Big Hwacha connection, most of their health already gone. Second Hwacha connection, they have no guns, no engines. I think Lepidoptera probably has to let this one go. I'm sorry, what's the name of the red team? Lepidoptera Leviathan. And so I suspect the Judgment is just sitting on the respawn screen. They're going to wait out the spawn timer so that they can try to come in at the same time as their ally. Now, we'll see where they do decide to spawn in, because Victor Stromstrom is right next to the Arched Mountain spawn for red team, and the other spawns are farther north, which is the direction the blue team is moving in. So it looks like Bamboozle Moth spawning in, taking the northmost spawn along with the Barrel Eye, so no flank plays from spawn. As the Anna moving in, engaging red team very early, forced to rise up, dodge the fire. Stromstrom long range. They do have the the Mercury Artemis on the lower deck, so support fire are going to be pretty strong here, assuming that we do land some shots. Looks like current target is the Bamboozle Moth for Victor Stromstrom, while Anna moves in, trying to get the rear of the Red Judgment. And Barrel Eye in position between the two blue ships. I think maybe hoping they would be able to get a watch connection on the Anna, but Anna using the Bamboozle Moth to block the arcs of the Corsair. Now taking the Watcher Barrage, moving as the Judgment drops down, giving their opponents visibility of the target. Victor Stromstrom still picking away at the Judgment, whose armor is down. Judgment already almost dead. Mercury doing the Mercury Lumberjack from Victor Stromstrom, combined with Anna's close-range Gatling, doing a great job picking away at the Bamboozle Moth's armor. As now the Anna is forced to disengage, try to dodge the Corsair, unable to do so, takes a big Hwacha connection in the process. Two guns, you see that shoot vent play once again, but their balloon is so low that they actually don't get much downward speed. But thankfully Victor Stromstrom is here to save them with that Lumberjack. Takes down the barrelized balloon, armor down as well, some upwards Lumberjack shots from the Bamboozle Moth. And we'll see, red team seems pretty well suppressed. I don't know if they're going to be able to recover from this one, and remember, Pomelos are on match point, so if either of these red ships die, that's game over. Not the end of the set, mind you, but just the end of this game. As Bamboozle Moth moving up, they're trying to, I think they're trying to get into close range and also fly above the arcs of the Mercury Artemis so that they can utilize their own close range weapons, because remember, Bamboozle Moth has the Gatling Banshee versus the Mercury Artemis of the Victor, but unfortunately Anna coming in from behind, and that might be a kill move. No, Hwacha just runs out. Artemis from the Victor Stromstrom, bringing Bamboozle Moth very close to death. Next armor break will do it. Anna's moving forward for the ram. Boom, bumps him. Strike doesn't weigh very much, so it doesn't do very much damage. And for the moment, Bamboozle Moth is keeping up their armor, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do it with the Gatling gun on them. This might be it. Watch, it does connect. 10 stacks of fire, 9 stacks of fire on the Bamboozle Moth's armor. It's going to go down here. Artemis shot does finish them off, which means the currently set score 2-2, all tied up. We're going to go to a 5th and final game, which I believe is going to be on Canyon Ambush. Here we go. It all comes down to this. The 5th and last game of today's tournament to decide the victor between the Pomelos on red and Lepidoptera for blue. Taking a look at the ship loadouts, we first have the Victor Stromstrom Judgment with Lumberjack, dual Lumberjack Mercury Artemis with Hwacha on right side. Their ally, the Anna, is a Shrike with 2 Gatlings and 2 Hwachas. For their opponents, Triple L, we have the Confused Moth, Gatling Mark II Heavy Flak paired with the dual Tempest. And finally, their ally, the GFA Barrel Eye, Heavy Carronade on the front, dual Gatlings, and dual Hwachas. And already at the start of the fight, Lepidoptera charging straight through center map. And seems like these teams are going to meet very quickly. We'll see who's able to get the first spot. And interesting to note, the loadouts, I'm going to switch back to Judgment really quick. You see that Victor Stromstrom opting to bring that long-range setup once again, the Mercury Artemis Lumberjack. Well, the Barrel Eye has switched out their Lumberjack for Heavy Carronade, so Lepidoptera definitely wants to take fight in the canyons themselves, whereas the Pomelos will have a strong advantage in an open-air fight, like, for instance, if they take the fight in their spawn area, which is much more open. And so I think that's, assuming the teams do play to the builds that they are bringing, that is what I would expect the Pomelos to play a little bit more conservatively. Yeah, I think that's also what you see. Red team currently sitting in the open air while blue team is sitting in a canyon. So both teams realize where they want the fight to take place. I'm just not sure how they're going to be able to force their opponents to take the fight on their terms. And we do see a spot going down on the Confused Moth. A few Tempest shots, but you see they take 1 Mercury, the Stormbreaker does, and they have to back out. Any sort of range fight is not going to work for blue. And depending on how patient the teams are, we could be here for a pretty long time. We'll see. Barrel Eye looks like Lepidoptera is splitting up a bit. Seems like they might be trying to set up a two-pronged attack. This Barrel Eye is currently unspotted and is moving to the west. And Red's a little bit sketchy. They might have gotten an eye. I think they did, catch a glimpse of the Corsair. So Anna moving in like a shark. They smell the chum in the water. And Barrel Eye pops the hydrogen, a little bit scared. Rising up. Anna doesn't want to contest with the vertical mobility, so they back out. And now that Red Team is repositioning a little bit, Blue has inched closer. Confused Moth has moved to the next piece of terrain that they're now hiding behind. And based on Anna's position, I think Pomelos are aware of where both the blue ships are. So here we go, two-pronged attack. Confused Moth hitting the Anna. Barrel Eye coming in from the west. They're a little bit too far to be effective. But if they back out, they're leaving their ally, the Confused Moth, all alone to get dual focused. I don't know. Victor Stromstrom is sticking to the Barrel Eye, leaving the Anna and the Confused Moth to 1v1, which is probably fine because the Shrike is going to, with the Watch, is going to be able to dominate this Stormbreaker in a close-range fight. So Stormbreaker does get the slip from the Shrike for the moment, and we do see a dual focus with Barrel Eye barreling in towards the Victor Stromstrom, and both blue ships a little bit high. Barrel Eye, Hwacha connection, hitting the Anna, taking down, looks like both Watches on the Anna are down. All the guns actually, as Confused Moth, Gatling gun, refocusing on the Judgment. Here's that dual focus. No, Confused Moth actually ducking behind the terrain. What are they? Oh no, a small piloting mistake. Hitting the terrain, killing their ship. It was almost a perfect dual focus from Lucky Lepidoptera, but they slipped up, and now the Barrel Eye is alone in behind the enemy lines. And it's going to be very difficult for them to escape from this one. Anna's out. Seems a little unnecessary. I think Anna actually trying to block their escape with the front of their ship. But once again, Shrike is a ship that has very little mass, so it doesn't have much blocking capability. And this is certainly going to be it. Watch it comes out. Victor Stromstrom. Once Victor Stromstrom gets their guns in arc, that's going to be it. Two Watches hitting them. Mercury, Artemis is going to be coming into effect, and blue team needs to decide what their next plan is. As you saw in this whole fight, red team never left their spawn. They inched a little bit towards the entrance of the map, but they definitely want that open air fight. And if the Confused Moth had not just caught on that terrain and died in the middle of the fight, Lucky Lepidoptera may have just straight up taken it. They had a great dual focus. They were in position to have that fantastic dual focus on the Red Judgment. So it's not like their strategy failed. I think it was just an execution error. And speaking of errors, I have another .NET Framework error on my screen, which I will now close. As Red Team moves down the Eastern Pass, and I believe this sticks with their tracks with what I said earlier about them not wanting to fight in the canyons. Although they are moving across the map, it looks like they want to actually take this next fight in blue spawn, which is an equally open area to red. And actually, by taking the Eastern Pass, they bypass the canyons almost completely, as well as obscure their location. Because red team has that long range composition, because I've spent roughly 67 minutes talking about how they want to fight in the open. They maybe the Pomelos probably think that their opponents are expecting that as well, are expecting red team to camp their own spawn. So instead what they've done is they've actually moved the entire length of the map down to the south, because Lucky Lepidoptera is just going to go back to the red spawn entrance, look inside, see if there are no ships there, and then they just burned, 3 or 4 minutes running around the map looking to try to find where the Pomelos are located, which is not here. And you see they're already split up. They're already ready to execute this flank. But there's unfortunately no ships for them to flank. And I'll be curious to see how long it actually takes them to realize this, as the Barrel Eye pretty aggressively pushing forward through this cloud, and I think at this point they'll see that there aren't any red ships here. And Pomelos, switch back to Pomelo cam. Pomelos have not moved one bit. They're totally content to sit here and wait for their opponents to fly in front of them so they can get the ambush. So we'll see, once again, a thorough search of red spawn, and look at that. There are no succulent fruits here. The Pomelos have evacuated the area, and Legio Lepidoptera must as well. Wonder how well this will actually work for red, though. I mean, okay, if we evaluate how much range they do have, I'm gonna try to center my screen. That's about the range of the sniping lane Victor Stromstorm has. So that's a good distance, but I do feel like if the blue team, okay, they're checking the hidey hole as well. It's F9 area, thinking maybe the Pomelos are truly just hiding in the most obscure spots, but no Pomelos here. But switching back to what I was talking about, I feel like if Legio Lepidoptera, if they stay vigilant and they're able to very quickly spot the red ships and don't get just totally blindsided, I think they could probably just rush this position. I don't know if there's enough open air here for the Victor Stromstorm to fully utilize its long range arsenal to really get that long range advantage. But we'll see. It's really up to Legio Lepidoptera how impatient they get, because that's certainly a factor. If they check, 3-4 other locations before they actually make it down to F5, they may just get a little impatient, a little belligerent, and a little lazy. And at that point, that's when the Pomelos strike. And if Pomelos get a strong first volley, that could lock up the game in their favor. As we see currently, blue team's flying through center map. How quickly will they think to check that eastern pass? They're currently heading to the west side of the map. Anna's actually spotting, scouting outwards into blue's spawn, so this could give away their position. I don't think there's any visibility into blue's spawn from Legio Lepidoptera's position just yet, but in a few seconds, the Crusader's going to see the Corsair. Yeah, there's the spot on the Corsair and the strike. Judgment not quite in position. So Anna getting caught in their scouting mission. Barrel Eye moving forward for a ram, but Anna's able to disengage. A little bit of a heavy carronade whiff from the Barrel Eye. They're running away. They're moving back to Daddy. They need the protection of their Judgment ally. As you see those Tempest shots flying out, not doing a whole lot of damage. All ships are spotted here except the Confused Moth. So Judgment's location, very important, is known to Legio Lepidoptera. So once again, no surprises. And not a lot of open air for them to utilize here. If blue team is able to if blue team can find a way to round this corner without taking too much damage, they can totally bum rush this Judgment. Now, Anna currently taking a lot of the damage. 30% health. Oh, no! Oh, they got shriked. Shrike City here today at SCS. Oh, and that's bad. Because red team is on blue side of the map, so there's not going to be any spawn reinforcement. Confused Moth moving in. Here's the dual focus from Legio Lepidoptera. I guess, one smashed terrain ship does deserve another, because did happen to Legio Lepidoptera in the previous fight, so I guess it's fair game. And now Victor Stromstorm getting dual focus. That's certainly going to be Legio Lepidoptera able to tie up the score as soon as this armor goes down. They're moving forward, thinking that maybe they could get a ram kill on Stormbreaker, but not living long enough to do so. And score tied back up. That's 8 minutes left on the clock. So not a whole lot of time for one of these teams to actually close out the full 5 points. Red team, the Pomelos, did get the first kill, so in the event that the timer expires and the score is tied, the team that got the first kill in the match will be declared the victor, which in this case is red team. So that gives a little bit more fire under the underneath Legio Lepidoptera to actually make some plays happen. Make sure that timer does not expire. And already all ships spotted except the Strom, although it's there goes that spot. Anna keeping a forward position. Both the blue ships currently staying near the canyon so that they can block the Victor Strom sniper fire if needed. Barrel Eye moonshining away. You see they lose armor in their balloon and then they duck behind the cover. While Confused Moth has the rear of the Judgment. Judgment pushing very aggressively into the Corsair's position despite the fact that they have a lot of long-range weapons with not a lot of great downward arcs. So they've given the rear to the Confused Moth, but the Gatling... Okay, there's the armor break. There's a heavy flat connection. That's big damage. 60% of the Victor Storm's health is gone, so they're dropping down, blocking the Barrel Eye from escaping. Barrel Eye's taking a lot of terrain damage, but Victor Storm's taking Tempest shots from the Confused Moth, and the Judgment does go down. Is Barrel Eye going to follow? They're barely able... They're trying to keep their armor up. They're bumping against the terrain. Anna disengages. They want the Confused Moth. Watch a connection in a moment here, I believe. Let's see, did they get any engines? Yes, they're hitting the engines, but engines stay up, so the Confused Moth is still okay, still able to disengage. Barrel Eye so heavily damaged. They want to help their ally. Let's see if they get a heavy carronade shot here or something. Oh, man. Legio Lepidoptera does have the score advantage, but because the Corsair is at such low health, it's going to be difficult for them to actually win a straight-up fight. And now the Confused Moth losing their armor to the Mercury of the Victor Strom. Artemis shots, the follow-up Lumberjack shots missing. Barrel Eye moving in. I don't know if this is the right situation. They're so heavily damaged. Victor Strom currently ignoring them. The Barrel Eye gets a Hwacha connection on the Victor Strom, taking down the Hwacha of the Judgment. Confused Moth trying to do a little bit of a ring around Rosie, staying out of the Judgment's gun arcs. While Anna moves in. If Anna hits the if either of these red ships hit the Corsair, they will die very quickly as soon as the armor goes down. So Anna's just, I think maybe, I'm going to zoom in here, just having difficulty dealing with all these fires from the Incendiary Tempest. All they need to do is start getting that Gatling gun onto the Corsair. But the Corsair's positioning is just making it very difficult for them to safely engage. You see Barrel Eye staying above the Anna. And okay, here we go. Shrike finally has the rear of the Corsair. Watch a connection. Strom goes down. I think that was a heavy flak finishing them off. And now the Shrike is dying. This could be a game. This is match point for Legio Lepidoptera. This could be the tournament. They ram them. Balloon is down. Armor barely staying up. Confused Moth, I think, is going to be able to finish them off with the Tempest. Armor keeping them suppressed. Gatling gun, their armor still up. Next armor break will finish them off, but they're underneath the gun arc, so they are still alive. And where is the Victor Strom? They spawn in. They're very close. Anna trying to dodge. They get behind the Shrike, but I think that's going to be it. Gatling from the Confused Moth able to finish them off. And that means Legio Lepidoptera in a 3-2 game score will take SCS 212. They are your champions for this week. Congratulations to you guys. A hard fought victory.